several people have asked for my opinion on this. Dillian Whyte has been dropped from the WBA rankings at heavyweight. And some people are saying that this is harsh given the fact that we haven't had a conclusive finding when it comes to Dillian Whyte's UCAD test. There hasn't been any kind of ruling on that yet. So for them to be removing him from the rankings now is premature in the eyes of some people, particularly when you've still got Freza Kendo hanging in the WBA top 15. I mean, this guy hasn't fought for how long? And they're still ranking Freza Kendo. I mean, does he have shares in the company or what? So I understand that. But, boxing is political. We all know this. Dillian Whyte hadn't really been pursuing the WBA route, truth be told. When was the last time that Dillian Whyte fought in a WBA sanctioned bout? I mean, maybe some of you guys are going to surprise me and inform me that the Rivas fight was WBA sanctioned. But as far as I'm aware, Dillian Whyte hasn't fought in a WBA sanctioned bout for a long time. And that's a lot of the time where the governing bodies get their incentive to rank you, is if you fought for one of their minor titles. Maybe these guys have been paying their sanctioning fees, or maybe their promoters have been having words with the WBA, because these sanctioning bodies have conventions all the time, and promoters which represent different fighters turn up at these conventions and state their case to these sanctioning bodies as to why their particular fighter should be in the rankings. And that's how it's done. It's not it's not a panel in a room saying, okay, let's just, without even talking to any of the promoters or networks or anything like that, let's just come up with a list of who we think are the top 15 heavyweights in the world. They don't do it like that. They have their conventions and they hear the case from various different promoters and managers and stuff like that for why their fighter needs to be in the top 15. That's how it's done. I mean, there might be some element of just ranking people based upon how good you think they are relative to the opposition. There is an element of that, but there's a very strong element of politics and lobbying the WBA or whatever other sanctioning body to get your fighter ranked, fighting for their trinkets and paying your sanctioning fees and all that kind of thing. So that's what I'll say in fairness. I mean, well, I'll say, maybe not in fairness, but in terms of consistency, maybe this is consistent with the way the WBA behave in general. That if you haven't been fighting for their titles or paying their sanctioning fees, or your promoter hasn't been at the conventions for a while, they might just drop you from the rankings altogether. Yeah. And maybe it's that. Maybe it is to do with the whole case with the failed tests. Who knows? But one thing I can say, if we go over to the other sanctioning body rankings, the WBC have still got Whyte at number 1. They've suspended him, but they haven't removed him. Okay, 2 different things. So he's still number 1 with the WBC, but he's currently suspended with them, pending further investigation. The WBO has still got Dillian Whyte in their rankings. All right. So WBC and WBO, he's still in their rankings. IBF, I don't think he's in there. Vacant. Now, have they removed him? Was he in there previously? I think he was, wasn't he? I think Dillian Whyte was in there previously. However, Dillian Whyte turned down the opportunity to fight Kubrat Pulev in an IBF final eliminator. You remember like Jarrell Miller did? Dillian Whyte turned it down in favor of fighting Joseph Parker, which is, perfectly understandable. It was a lot more money than he would be getting for the Kubrat Pulev fight. And of course, the Kubrat Pulev fight would have been in Bulgaria rather than in the UK. So, it's understandable why he did. But nonetheless, that could be the main reason why they've removed Dillian Whyte from their rankings, because of the fact that he turned down a final eliminator. So they said, all right, you want to turn that down? We'll drop you from the rankings. So, yeah. that's what I'll say about that. Several of the sanctioning bodies are still ranking him. Couple are not. 2 are, 2 aren't. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think this is harsh? I've seen Dillian Whyte, I've seen some people post screenshots of Dillian Whyte, talking about some dark things in recent days. I think maybe on his Instagram or whatever, he did a live or status update or something. And some people are concerned about the mental state of Dillian Whyte at this point. Well, Dillian Whyte has made more money than most boxers will ever make in this sport. So suffering is relative. I'm sure what Dillian Whyte is going through right now is very stressful. I'm sure he's pissed. I'm sure, his expectations in terms of what he wanted to achieve in boxing are under threat now because the future seems uncertain. I mean, there was talk of Dillian Whyte possibly, if he gets found guilty by UKAD, facing an 8-year ban this time because it's a second offense. So obviously with that kind of stuff hanging over your head, it's going to be very concerning for somebody like Dillian Whyte who, he's a boxer through and through. He's a fighter through and through. This is what he does. But to the average Joe who hasn't made the kind of money Dillian Whyte's made, who hasn't had the kind of career he's had, they probably think, well, you're not in that bad a position, Dillian. You've made, millions? You've built a career for yourself. You've built a good life for yourself. I mean, you've done far better than most fighters are going to do. So, you have to stay philosophical about it. And that's what I would say to Dillian, man. Stay philosophical about it because, of course, you want to clear your name and you want to end up getting your shot at a heavyweight title. But life is a funny old thing, man. And if that doesn't work out and if this situation goes south, you've still done better than most people and you're still in a better position than most people. So be grateful for that. Always count your blessings, man. That's what I'll say. I know that's probably not much consolation to Dillian at this point, what he's going through. And, some people are going to say, why should Dillian even have any words of sympathy or anything like that? He's guilty. Well, I don't know whether Dillian's guilty or not. That's my position on it. I don't know whether he's guilty or not. Hopefully we get to find out the truth sooner rather than later. But as far as the rankings goes, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. All right? It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.